Well, folks, here we go with activity 1.1.1 of our Design 300, Section 1. We're going to work on some key terminology. And let's take a look at defining site work. Well, so how do we do that? I've given you some general FAQs that should help you figure out how to do that. You can go through those and look at those. And if we go back to our resources page, you'll see that there's under key terminology, there's some site work class notes, which you see right here. Okay, so the goal then is to preview site work videos. Where do we find those again? Right here in this playlist. There's the playlist right there. So you should look at those maybe at 1.5 or 2 times speed, just so that you've got an idea of it. At the minimum, look at the titles. And then usually in the first 30 seconds, they'll tell you what it's all about. And you can decide if you think you need to get some information out of it or not. Remember, a preview is very brief. Okay, so I'm going to preview that, and I'm going to preview my site work, and I'm going to read headings. Well, there's something right there. What is it? And then these all have to do with site work. And these links that are underlined all have to do with site work. Okay, so once we've got that done, we've done a preview. It should end up looking something like this. That's what we just did here. We did the preview, and then we'll do a scan. We'll use those keywords that we got. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's one that I made, and I'll zoom in on this in just a minute. So this took me about 5 minutes because I'm pretty good at it. It might take you 10 minutes, but this is about my defined site work. So I wrote down stuff I already knew. Let's see if there's something that I think I can do a zoom window there. So there was stuff I already knew. Just by walking around, I know that construction sites are where buildings are built. They're either renovated or demolished or built. Okay. Also, from my work at Ames, that was one of my jobs that I had in the past. I found out that site work includes putting in pipes to get water into the building. As a matter of fact, that was a big part of the job of Ames. And it also includes laying sewage pipes to take sewage away from buildings. And those are put in pretty deep, sometimes 10 or 15, even 20 feet deep. And that was my work at Wemco. And then just from my own house, I know that I've had a bulldozer come in and redo my ground so that my water drained uh, from the back to the front. And this should, I don't know why that says drawings, should say drains from the back to the, I didn't type that very well at all. You'll find you do that. So that's stuff I already knew. Then as I went through things, I saw stuff that I didn't know anything about. So, what is a building pad? I saw something about building pads. Well, I actually know a little bit about building pads, but I know that before I started teaching at American River College, I didn't know much about building pads. Why are stormwater pollution prevention plans important? Those were in there. And so I go, I wonder even what it is. American Disabilities Act, Americans with Disabilities Act. What do I need to know about that on construction? You know, construction sites aren't wheelchair accessible and things like that. So what about that do I need to know on a site? And then I saw something about local work norms. How do I learn them? And what does the word capacity mean? That's something I know. But just as an example, your things that you need to know more about should be different than mine. Your things that you already know and where you learned them should be different than mine. And then keywords, I just put down a whole bunch of keywords that I found. I would actually not use quite this many. You can kind of check in on other keywords that have to do with looking through these things and finding out civil engineering, trenching, underground. You can look those up and see how they relate to um, site work. And then the stuff that I'll keep, these are the things that I sort of looked at, and that's what I'm going to synthesize my definition from. Okay, so now how do I'm ready now. I've done a preview, I've done a scan, and now I'm going to synthesize my own work. Let's see where I do that. That's on my assignment workbook. Go get it. I'll make a copy of it just like you will. You need to be in your Google Drive to be able to do this. And we're doing section 1.1.1. So I'm supposed to say what site work is. And so I can use this information to blend it, combine it, reword it, restate it. Okay, but when I go and check your work against what's on the internet, I should not get one exact duplicate copy. This should be your own words and your own combination and what you think is the most important part. So you would write down, let me find it. Here it is. Here's my assignment guide. Site work is blah, 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 blah. And it should take 2 or 3 lines. Okay, so that is essentially how to do activity 1.1.1. Step 1, define site work. Preview, scan, write it down in a way that you can remember it. Shouldn't take too long to do that, at least not once you get good at it. And then synthesize your own definition. This is not a direct copy and paste from the internet. It needs to be your own definition. Now, I get it. It's a pretty common, well-defined term, but you need to get your own version of it done. So there we go. We're going to demonstrate your knowledge of key terminology, and the first one is define site work.